This is the Old Line Board of Finance, calling the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Is there anybody on calling in on the phone? Anybody on the phone?
No, because you'd see them over here.
Oh, they would. Oh, okay. Good. All right.
Just
Confirming, just confirming.
All right. So I've done number one, and I'm going to now sit down and relax. Number two is but Andy is going to be late enough to ask that Fred sit in his place. And Fred, you have agreed. Thank you. The July 16th minutes have been distributed. I'll give folks a minute to refresh their recollection if you've already reviewed them. And at some point, somebody can make a motion to accept them, and then we can have comments.
So moved. Accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay, so Matt made the motion. You heard it, Anna, and you seconded it. Are there any questions or comments regarding these minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes as drafted, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
One.
You were, David abstained. He didn't attend, wasn't it? Okay. Next item is the financial reports, which have also been distributed. Anita, you gave us a new document this month, this Board of Finance highlights. This is great. Thank you for preparing that. Let me just ask, the first line says tax revenue is up 44%, and then the number is 4 million. So the 4 million is the amount over last year, I assume?
Correct.
Yep. I saw that. It was 9 and this year's 13.
Yes.
And just interestingly, 50% of the taxes are supposed to be paid in July. And the total taxes are like 39 million, something like that.
Until August 1st.
Yeah.
So August 1st, you're gonna see a large amount come in August. Because they can only process, so you do actually have it until August 1st.
That's right. And so even this may be nominally dated July 31st, it wouldn't have captured all of the checks that came in as of July 31st.
Well, no, just, the ones that are in July 31st are processed for July 30th back. They do them on the.
Oh, so you mean August 1st itself? On that day, you think a lot of people wait until the very last day?
I think that tenants overwhelmed, and I think that they process a lot.
Interesting.
Because they can only get to so many by July 31st.
Huh.
So my experience, it takes about a month for my checks to clear.
That's
So there's a lag
yeah,
to the.
yeah, that's interesting.
I've seen people on social media asking when checks are being processed.
And they are almost caught up.
Yeah.
But it is that they're not getting an interest or not. And we are working on a plan to fix that for future.
We had 3 people in the tax office last year. We have Olivia Rugg, who was an intern, and she was there and she worked with Suzanne and Judith. This year, it's just been Suzanne and Tom, and we've allowed Sophie and Hannah, other interns from the high school that have worked with us over the summer to pop in when they've needed them. But it's been very busy. And as Tom said, Tom Priya, who's our assistant in the office, he said, if the window's busy, it's hard to get anything processed because it's just one. And we've had lines going down the pond. People just like to come in and pay their taxes.
It's the same as every year.
Yeah.
It's not unusual.
Well, I've never seen a line.
Is that?
I've never seen the lines like I've seen this year.
And some people come in because that's the way you get a physical receipt.
So
Yes, sir.
I have one question. Anita, is there anything on the expenditure side that we should be concerned about in your view?
Yeah. Currently, right now, everything looks good, I think.
I mean, we're 1 month in, so.
I think August, we're gonna get, you'll get a better picture because majority of the people then put it in for their contracts. All the renewals of the contract were paid, between July and August. So you'll see where a lot of people will be up on their expenditures, and that's because contracts are
Yeah.
once a year. But I think that right now, we're in a good position.
It seems that way and Martha, same question to you. Is there anything that the Board of Finance should, be concerned about in your view?
There's just two mentions that we have two departments that already know that some things are gonna go over.
Yeah.
For the entire year.
Yeah.
Because of some changes in the world. So I was gonna report out on that. Do you want it now or you want it later?
Nope, that's fine. Yep.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'll wait until the appropriate
So
time.
we'll wait.
Okay.
But anybody else have any questions or comments on the financial reports?
I do. On the first page of the actual and anticipated revenues. Under charge for services, last month, the document had the very first charge for services instead of 0002, it was 0001. And I was just wondering what happened to that. And the only reason I ask is because we had a question about it last
You
month.
know what that was?
Yes, I wrote on here, check this, and you were gonna talk to Matt. It was for parking fines. Remember, we had a discussion about parking fines and where it went, because it wasn't spent at all.
The reason is, after a couple of years, it is in history, it's not gonna show anymore, and last year there was a zero, and the year before it was a zero. So that is why, because all of it is because they give us one check. They're giving us one check, so it's going into parking.
So is it now under parking lot revenue / fines?
That's
Okay,
why
so it was
we
moved.
named-
Line 405.
That's
Okay.
why we named it, because they're giving us one check,
Yep.
that they used to break it down. And
Yep.
Okay,
Anybody else? I've got a couple of questions. On the prior page, the fund balance, the senior center expansion project has a starting balance of a negative 376,000. I'm just curious, how are we accounting
How that
for the fund balance for the senior center project?
the balance is always gonna be in the negative until we finally get the bond. So it's gonna be in the negative until, and right now is because we're on a sweep account, the general fund balance carries it.
Well, but that's a good answer. So you're waiting until the proceeds come in. I don't care, but I just, at some point, we need to have a positive balance.
We won't get the deposit until money gets into that fund.
Okay. And there, in a couple of the departments, assessor and building department, the current year expenditure for contracted services exhausts almost or a substantial amount. Is that because those contracts begin on the fiscal year, beginning of the fiscal year?
They probably paid their CDL. For years.
And reval in the assessor's office, that's.
We haven't that way now.
Like from such, okay.
And then my final question on page 12 toward the bottom, revaluation has current year budgeted $20,000. And that just sounds way low to me for the reval, unless a whole bunch of money was spent in the prior fiscal year.
1,000 that is budgeted. Intended for budget?
It's in the actual budgeted expenses and encumbrances on page 12.
Reval was 20,000 you were putting into the reval account. That was, we were taking from the general fund and we're gonna transfer it into the reval. That should be fund, I believe, 12. That's on the other fund report. And then the expenditures come from there.
Okay, so I'm not quite following. This isn't for a fund balance. It just indicates the current year budgeted for reval is 20,000.
Yeah, it's
The transfer
Okay, so I guess what I think you said was we put $20,000 of new money into kind of the reval
Yeah.
fund. And now
However, it's not in there yet. Cause,
it's
'cause-
not,
'cause it hasn't been,
It's transferred as logs.
okay, as of,
Okay.
so it will be.
but now, so I thought 20 was a little low.
Yeah.
But we have here $250,000, 254,000. Is that, the reval really cost that much?
Wasn't that 200, she said? It was about.
It's a physical, yeah.
I know, but that's correct.
Yes, because she was here during our budget meetings and I think she said it was about 200.
Wow.
And if we've got, think about it, if we've got 5,600 housing units, let's say, right, in town, that's $1,000 for, $1,000 would be 560 grand-ish. No, it'd be even more. It's actually, no, it's significantly less
Mhm.
than you would expect, because if you were to do an appraisal for your own house, it'd be $750 or whatever it is, right? So multiply that times 5,600 housing units, it's significantly more. So
Your reality test says it makes sense.
it makes sense to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
52 maps. The town is broken up into, I think, 52 maps.
It's a lot of work.
But it's more than 20,000.
It's more than 20,000.
Okay.
And it's less than 5.6 million.
Any other questions or comments on the financial reports?
I had a question. We had also given the ambulance extra money last month to run an extra ambulance. And I was wondering if that's reflected in here yet. We had voted to give them,
The 10,000 on
Yeah.
carryover.
and I just wasn't sure how that was going to be reflected in here.
And you approved it last month.
Yep.
But it was at the end of the month, so the payroll wasn't getting put up. It was the payroll that they would have gotten started paying on that would have been for the end of July, so that payroll would have been August 2nd.
Okay, so it won't be reflected in here yet.
Should not be.
Okay.
Got it? Thank you. Next item are the carryovers. So Anita sent us, we discussed the carryovers in detail last month. Anita has prepared a new sheet that purports to reflect the decisions that we made and then a few changes over the course of the month. No, fair, and you did an excellent job.
And I do have some updates for you, because we did some more smoothing.
Yeah, so let's just go through it, because at the end of the discussion, we ought to approve them or not. So just go page by page. On the for me, on the bottom of the first page, with respect to the H2O inventory, the note is per Board of Finance hold. And then, but the 6,000 is in the carryover column. And I don't remember the discussion. In other words, what we wanted to hold it to get more information.
Yeah, we were asking to, if it was being worked on, what was going on.
Okay,
Andy questioned because that the HGO inventory was the well signs, the W signs that are around town. And he said, but they've already got all the signs. They've all been identified and labeled, but there's more to the project than just putting up the signs. Dave came to the August 5th meeting for the Board of Selectmen and said that each of the private wells easement agreements have to be given to each of those private homeowners or landowners. And those will need to be executed, and then a mapping system needs to be created so that when you pull up to a fire scene, not just us, but if, let's say, East Lyme comes to help us, there are grids, and they have to be able to pull into that grid as us as well to know where those wells are. And so that's why the 6,000 is still needed.
So who is doing that work?
I think it's a little bit of well, first of all, legal's gonna have to be involved. Once we have I would say a type of contract for easement, then as far as the legal contract, if we can get a set letter, then I think we can generate those letters from the town halls by ourselves. And then as far as the mapping system, I believe it's I think it's a statewide system, but you have to enter all the data into it. So I'm assuming that Dave would do that.
But the bottom line is that
There's more to the project.
you've looked
Not-
at this and you think 6,000 is a reasonable amount to carry over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's also the 55 on the next page.
So
So
50,
it was a total of 6,000 plus the 55.
okay. I thought that
That's bottom of the second page.
that was the legal and engineering fees. So the legal fees are probably in it. So the 6 is to finish doing some of it's for here, and the engineering and legal fees would be, legal fees would, are we going off again?
No,
Oh, you're,
All right, we'll see
Fixes
what happens.
but
Where's the
it's
55?
on the second page, the
On the-
last
yeah.
item on the second page.
The last,
Page 2,
5,500, okay.
Right, right, right.
55,000, okay.
Yeah.
for 248.
So the notion is that we need another 11.5 to complete the job.
The 6 and the 5 should get us over the finish line.
Yep.
So these are carryovers from 21-22 and 22-20. Are we
They won't
actually,
be in 24, 25, I'll guarantee you.
so he's actually gonna get this done? Because I think we need to say like,
I'll be honest.
okay,
Okay, so this is, a significant issue. And if anybody has any concerns or questions, let's get them on the table now. I'd like to vote on this as a package when we're done. So does this make sense to everybody that we carry these sums over?
mhm.
Okay,
And you guys discussed all the rest of this stuff. I mean, it's a little bit confusing. We've got like Soundview sidewalks still in here. I'm sure that was a conversation last meeting, et cetera. So
Is that-
You just signed the contract.
No, no.
it's okay. I don't want to revisit it. I wasn't here, so.
We did talk.
No, this was a question that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soundview sidewalks.
Oh, that's that one.
This was the
It's okay.
project was less than the grant. We owe the state money back. That's my note in here for 216.
Okay.
Yeah, 216, we're just waiting for the state to do our final recap of that project, David. And then once we do, then we're gonna be paying them back,
Okay. But to the tune of a
unless they want to.
couple grand or whatever. But it's okay. Again, I don't want to
No, I'm
reopen
just letting you know
discussions. Yeah. So,
what went on.
anything else on the first page? If not, let's go to the second page. Anita, on line 226, the fire marshal, part-time fire inspector, closed for Board of Finance, put that 24-25 back into surplus. I don't remember the discussion again from last week. I thought my little note said hold.
I do.
So I thought there was some further discussion for that.
And again, that's also another date.
So he did say there's only one part-time person on staff for fire inspection before the fire department is behind. He would like the unused wages to be carried over because he would like to get it done. Anita and I and Jude and Jim, all of us at the beginning said that those wages cannot be carried over because wages just shouldn't be. And we deferred it until basically we came to you.
one question generically, and it doesn't need to be answered, but we've had historically an issue with fire and everything else. Is there not a way to say, look, you have an office somewhere and it's here in town hall. You need to be here 15 hours a week And it's from 9 until 12 every week or whatever it is, right? And then you can do whatever else your work is. We have had for a long time, Dave coming to us and saying, I need help and I need to get caught up on paperwork. He does not like paperwork. Nobody likes paperwork. Some people do, maybe, but whatever. So, but to tie him down and say, you don't get to drive around and us guess whether you're doing your paperwork or not. And it's a perennial problem. It's been a problem, for long enough across a whole bunch of administrations. And I just offer that to you as a suggestion of 10 hours, 15 hours. You're going to be here. I'm going to see you. You need to do your paperwork, because he has cost us historically a whole bunch of money on, these ancillary folks that we need to hire. First of all, you have to find somebody who wants like 12 hours a week. So that's a tough thing to begin with. His job is paperwork. That is a lot of his job. He needs to do that. And that's where I'll just offer
you
that.
have
at
to
the end.
find
Yeah.
somebody who only wants to do paperwork.
At this point,
Right.
because it's all built up. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But there needs to be more, because he can do.
My understanding is that I think it's Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, I think, is the person who does our audit, but he has it on an iPad. So when you go in to do a fire inspection, you are just basically typing in the information, clicking buttons and doing it. And then when you get back to wherever you go, you just print it out and your inspection is done.
Yeah.
I have some ideas of how I might tackle this, but Dave had surgery today on his meniscus, so he'll be out for a week or two. And then when
Plenty of time for paperwork.
he does, he has
access to the computer and
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the downside of saying I'm working from home. Oh, you are? Okay.
we did finish some of the grant paperwork.
Yeah.
But wasn't this particular amount because he said he was still backed up because of COVID?
And he did provide us, he did come in, he gave us an update.
Okay.
Unfortunately, again, created one document in the fall for me when I took office. And did he continue that document? And we started another document. So I need to have a little bit of training with him on it, how to do an Excel document that will have historical data on it for him. He'll just be able to punch in when he does this, and he doesn't have to sit and waste time creating new documents because he'll already have it.
Yeah, I just think COVID is in the past.
I know.
So,
Well, it's actually spreading like wildfire
Oh,
this
yeah.
summer.
but his need for catching up is,
We understand.
Yeah, right.
we're done with
I
that.
got the message.
Yeah.
But in terms of this specific,
So it's up to you.
2,400.
Really, truly, we're gonna leave it up to you. If you want to get to the 2,600 in, if not, just leave it and
well, but is this the balance for a designated project to complete a
it's just
particular
his regular
project?
fire inspections for the buildings in town that have to have annual inspections.
No.
Yeah, then I would.
Well, it's not recommended as a carryover, so we're good.
Right. It's just
Yeah.
no carry, no.
So the only carryover that I see on page 2 is 1,400, 30,000, 29,000, 5,500.
But the 24-25 was up for discussion last
Oh, I see.
week, and now we have more information about it. And based on it's not being the completion of a designated project, I agree it should be returned to surplus.
I'd like to revisit the tree, other miscellaneous line. I know
What line item?
it's in the middle
236.
for 5,000.
Yep.
I talked to Joanne DiCamillo about it, and Tim might be able to shed some light on this. So that money was earmarked for providing trees for the residents on Ferry Road who had trees removed. And so I think it was decided when the project was ongoing to put that money into the tree commission for them to handle it. And so the concern with the tree commission is they don't have that money to complete that work.
So in the budget that we just passed, there's
There is.
There is.
there's money for trees for Ferry Road specifically.
No, I don't think so.
Well, we went back and looked historically at what the tree commission typically spends, and it's not their whole budget. So we said we should stop doing this carryover because they have accumulating funds that if they run out, this is below the threshold, and they can come in and say, hey, we want these 3 trees. Because
Yeah.
there's no this 5,000, it doesn't seem to be, like, there was no request specifically.
So if they get 15 grand a year, let's say,
Yes.
right, and they only spend 10 every year, they've always got extra. So why carry this over?
Correct. That was our
And
thinking.
by the
on
way,
this.
if they went to 16 grand, they come to us and be like,
And
hey.
say, hey,
we planted
remember
2
that
more
5,000 we
trees.
thought we were gonna have, we'd
Yeah.
like a couple
We
thousand
need 1,000.
more
Yeah,
to finish this project.
yeah, okay.
Well, usually the tree commission tries to plant trees around town in public spaces, and this is a separate charge to
If you look,
replace those.
so if you look at their budget, they have, for this coming year, they have $6,000 in contracted services. And they have another miscellaneous fund for 2205. Everything else is the tree warden, postage, and their clerk. That's it. Their total budget is $12,580 for the year.
The 22 is the ones that they get they do the project, they give out the seeds for the seeds.
Yeah. The,
Right.
yeah,
So,
that's,
So, I
But-
mean, just,
but historically, right, because I don't have my
yeah,
big book.
so last year they had $8,000 in the contracted services and 1,800 in other miscellaneous.
Spent,
No, that's what they had budgeted.
okay?
They spent just under 3,000 on contracted services and $0 on other miscellaneous.
Yeah, so that's the point.
Or, well, no, sorry, that was actuals for, sorry. Let me backtrack. We go to 22, 23 because 23,
Yeah.
24 is not complete. 8,000 and 1,800. They spent $200 on contracted services in 22, 23, and they spent, well, they were
This was-
over,
and this is
Yeah.
in the carryovers from 22,
Yeah.
23.
right?
Yeah, so Fred, they've got the money in their current budget,
Yes.
and if they need
Okay.
more, it's gonna be to the tune of something that the Board of Finance can approve.
Right, without going to town
That's,
meeting.
that's my take on it.
Like, they're not gonna go spending $25,000 on trees.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
We kind of like to clean these things up. That's, you know.
That was all this was. It was sort of like a cleanup of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always want to close out carryovers.
because again, this was from 22, 23. This wasn't even a 23, 24.
Well, that's because the Ferry Road
Here.
project has dragged on. That's
Yeah.
the reason for that,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
but they've got it within their own budget right
Yes.
now. Unless they go cuckoo. If you go cuckoo for $5,000.
No, I think
Here,
there are only 3 trees, right? We're doing 3 trees?
The present is to have 4 trees on Perry Road.
4.
So the project, I think you all may recall the memo which said we might be in a hole on the overall project, but with some fortune and some other friendly discussion, I think we're gonna wind up with some plus money on the project. We're meeting with contractors Thursday to iron out some things. But it could be that the project will have between 5,000 and 8,000 surplus after all said and done.
so I think we're kind of good.
Okay.
Now, I think, Anita, you indicated that if an issue were with respect to the street on Prairie Road, if it's part of the project, it might be eligible to use the funds.
Yes,
that
as long as it's part of that project,
Yeah,
the funds are designated for Ferry Road.
yeah,
The grant we already submitted, because we had to submit all paperwork by August 10th. So the 126 is there because we spent 126.
Right.
No,
It wasn't based on, we had to pay 50%. It was just based that you had to at least spend that 126 to get that. So all the paperwork has been submitted and all the other money for Ferry Road is in carryover because most of those are paid into this fiscal year. So if he has an extra, because it is earmarked for Ferry Road and expensive Ferry Road.
Yeah.
It was meant for Ferry Road.
We could do a whole bunch of trees of heaven for free.
Just work ones.
Start
Or
small.
bamboo
They
or
grow
something.
big.
Oh,
God.
Suzanne Thompson would love that.
There's some pragmites in there too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a potential solution.
Okay.
I think we've got the money
Yeah,
and so,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing it on behalf of Joanne and the food commissions.
yeah, just assuring her whatever she needs, it seems like it's already available.
Okay, she's very concerned about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on this page?
We also had a question on 238, 239, and 240. And it looks like,
Speed bumps? Mhm.
yeah,
Those have been
all that
answered.
stuff was never ordered.
Mhm.
And then,
Yes, you asked me to ask Ed, he said it was never ordered.
okay,
We did have, the other one, as you see, that was spent in 20, yeah.
okay. So that's all going back to carryover then. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess the substantive question for Martha and gang and then us is, are these things that should have been ordered because they're good things to have? And so substantively, should the issue be raised again and come back to us to fund them if we need them?
Yeah,
The town trash receptacles is basically the one that I would say is the most concerning, only because the barrels that are there now are so heavy that it's very difficult for the public works people to get them out of the
Mhm.
container thing that Frank had built. So they would like to go to something more plastic oriented, like what ours are at our curbside. Not that particular model, but something like
Mhm.
that would be lighter for them to lift up and over if they had to. So that's what they were looking for. But if they didn't find it, Frank sent them some ideas and never got around to ordering them. They need them for next year. We'll work it out.
yeah, it's a small enough number and
Yeah.
it seems like it's more a product of someone didn't order them. So that's fine, because speed bumps are the same thing. I mean, they've got the rubberized speed bumps that can
Yep.
be removed and in the summertime installed.
Right.
And they
Remember the
haven't
whole
done those either.
presentation we had about the speed bumps?
Yeah, right.
We have three,
Okay.
one on each street,
Yeah,
and we were gonna do three more, but I think.
but
right.
somebody didn't make it happen. So,
Yeah.
they come back and ask. So,
Okay, final page, at the top of which you all would notice it says fiscal year 22-3, it means 23-24. This is as of
what's that?
the third page, carryover on the top of the page.
Yeah, that wasn't corrected from last month either. Well, that's okay.
It's okay.
I had a question on. Actually, I guess it's the sidewalk construction, which maybe you just answered, the 257. The number changed from the spreadsheet last month to this one. It was,
Did I delete one, I think, maybe?
I don't think so. I
Well, there
think,
was an invoice.
It just, doesn't it just zero out?
well, the number was 90,511.61 last month, and now it's 82,000.
Because we did pay an invoice.
So you had an invoice? Okay,
There was an invoice that
okay,
was paid in last fiscal year,
okay. So then that's all done now.
correct?
Okay,
And then
but
on,
hold on a
yeah,
second,
go
but do
ahead.
you need some of that money for the potential trees? So is the
Yeah,
project,
carryover column.
That's part of. the
So that's-
carryover.
so okay, so we're good.
Until that
Okay,
project
We're all
closes
set.
out, we have to kind of.
okay.
so what my question is WPCA legal? You say closed for Board of Finance, return to surplus. I just don't have notes on that. I had put it in a carryover column on my sheet last month, which certainly may have been incorrect.
Which number was that?
It's
260.
line 261.
261 I have waiting on invoices.
Okay.
All right,
Andy
never mind.
popped in.
Thank you guys.
Andy, welcome. It looks like your speaker is muted. If you want to say something, you have to unmute yourself.
How we doing?
We're very
Hello?
good.
Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay. We're working on carryovers.
Okay.
PCA. This one was support legal counsel for the Soundview Beach Association sewer project. 6,000 of this funding was allocated and obligated by the WPCA membership at the May 2024 WPCA meeting. That was the 685650.
We approved it because
Okay.
this
So
project,
another sheet, but it's the wrong column.
no, we, Board of Selectmen, approved it to be carried over because of the fact that we're in the midst of this sewer world right now.
I have no quarrel with that, but it's in
Okay.
the wrong column. then.
Yeah, because it says close.
That was my error.
Okay.
So all the WPCA items are now in carryover, right?
Correct.
I have one question, on the retrofit elevator controls, if it's transferred to the building improvement fund, is it still allocated to a particular item?
Yes.
Okay, so if it goes into the fund, then it's still kind of encumbered in essence, right?
Correct. That is where, if you remember when we did the budget this year, I
Yeah.
gave you a breakdown of what was used.
Yeah.
So that if there is. And the rest will take it over, say the project we put in there was 60,000.
Yeah.
And the project only came 50. Well, that 2,000, I would let you know next year and think it was 2,000, you can repurpose to something else.
The only question I have is just reminding myself of the fund, if it's a general slush fund that we put 30 grand into because, we've got one project, but it could go to other projects. That's not the case. If we put 30 grand in for the
For that
elevators
project,
into
for
that
that project.
fund, that's specific for that particular project and it's gonna be allocated. Fine.
It's already allocated. We already have it. We've already spent some of this. It just isn't out yet, but it's what we spent. We got a deal because we got a discount.
But it had been in the operating budget
Right.
and now it's gonna be paid out of the dedicated fund, the building.
That's where the other money, there was already part of the money sitting there, so we're just putting bits both together to pay the bill out of one.
Okay, thank you.
I want to pause for a minute and invite Andy to join the club and should request somebody make a motion to. Is that,
He's driving.
He's-
Yeah, he's
yeah.
driving.
oh, you're driving, so that's not good?
He's okay.
I'm
Okay.
driving, but I'm not looking at any of the paperwork right now.
Well, Fred is doing an excellent job. He's causing trouble and that's what his job is. So we'll leave Fred seated.
That's fine.
Okay.
So do you want a motion with the 2 items added? I think it's 2 items from the WPCA.
Well, we had another one too.
You have the emergency management. line
Yeah,
that
this,
You had some questions on and we got you answers.
the 15594 on line 260. Maybe it's 267. Hold on. Yeah, 267. The upgrade non-reimbursement. We asked where that was and what's going on with that.
And that's part of it.
Right.
Yes.
And basically, they are ordered. There's some, but it is part of a thing that we will be reimbursed for, and
Okay, so he ordered them.
they're,
There's gonna be a need for that 60 grand
it is, the 60 grand and is going to be needed,
ish.
ish.
It's good.
And then the top one on 266, basically that was to pick the architect that they're in the process of doing now. So that 99,000 should also come back over.
Yeah.
We voted on that on
We-
8/5 again to carry that back over, the 99,824.
How about the line item above that? My notes from last,
The 149, he said I can return.
the 149,874.
He said return.
return to surplus.
That was the one that was backed up by the Millstone grant, so it goes back to the Millstone, and then we already allocated this year's money. So it's all part of.
They
the
didn't
same
spend it and they didn't reimburse, so
Right.
it goes away, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else on this page?
So we ask for a new total and vote on the new total.
Sure.
Nita, do you have a new total to be voted upon for the carryovers? We only had a few items, I think.
I think it was only the one.
I just had the one.
Just one.
WPCS, which is $400.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Well, didn't we ditch,
HDO inventory.
didn't we ditch, the $5,000 for Dave Roberge?
did we take well, no, but there's there's legal and other miscellaneous. Did we get rid of,
That was never in. In that column.
it's 263.
Yeah, that was already in the return to surplus column.
That's
Okay,
already
so that's our,
returned.
so we returned that already? Okay.
No, I think Anita's right. The only addition
There's only one.
is the 6856.
6856.50.
So I came up with a total of $561,891.11.
Looks about right.
Can you say that again, Tom?
561,891.11.
That's what I got.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let me entertain a motion to accept the carryovers as described
So
on these
moved.
pages.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Any further discussion, carryovers?
Just the actual amount, maybe I think is part of the motion.
All right, why don't you,
I
who
moved,
did Dan?
yeah,
You
that
made
we
it
moved,
in the total amount of,
carryovers in the total amount of $561,891.11.
perfect. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Good.
Big question.
Oh.
Transfer to other funds, or are we gonna make a motion for that one?
Where is that?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then do you have to make one for return? Or no? It doesn't matter.
Probably.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It was
No.
just the carry.
Historically, we just voted on the approved carryover.
And then the
Yeah.
transfer one.
Yeah.
Where is that, Anita?
The transfer is the
It's
last.
this column.
So
I don't think there was any on the first.
785.
I'll make a motion.
Hold on, what was that total?
38411.
No,
That was
no,
the basic four.
Sorry, 441.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it's on here. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we move $441,777.85 to transfer to other funds.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Other business. Funding reallocation request, Boughton Road project. Who is gonna talk about that?
I am. So the first thing is on August 5th, the Board of Selectmen voted to recommend to the Board of Finance to reallocate $7,800 in the fire department funds to the Boughton Road firehouse for repairs. These repairs are on the side of the building that is not part of the EOC expansion project. Mr. Olson is here. If you have any specific questions, I believe we're replacing a window and we're repairing cracks.
So there's 3 windows that we're replacing that are in the current budget.
there's a soffit and gutter that is now falling off the back of the building, which came to light. It was a repair made before I was here, and it's reappeared and it's gotten worse. So this was all done or, came about after the whole budget process. So with the windows that we currently were budgeted for and the contractor were supposed to add it, none of the windows or doors of that building, when the brickwork was done, they never had any lintels put on. So what's happening is the brick is not breaking. So to do the windows, repair the cracked brickwork and the socket repair in the back of the building and the gutter work, the total is, Mark, you have it under the,
I think I did. Sorry.
I got it right here. It would be about 11,000. I don't have the exact figure for it. But what I'm asking, or what I asked the board of selectmen was, in the current year budget 24-25, there's a line item for Cross Lane brick repair, which was more cosmetic. It's not structural when, the process was started before I came on board. So we were going to do that this year. We can hold off on that. So we take that 3,500 plus there's 4,300 in the current budget to replace the cracked heat exchange at the Lime Street Firehouse. That was done in March. I don't know how it got into the budget. I guess a little miscommunication. It was put in there as a line item. So that's 4,300. That work was already done and paid for out of last year's budget. So the 7,800, I asked Martha and the board of selectmen to reallocate that $7,800 to the balcony road repairs, the brickwork, the soffit work. So that 7,800 plus the 4,400, I believe that's the 4,000 that's in the budget for the windows will take care of all the repairs at Balcony Road, and not come back for a request to do that work. And the recommended work for the brickwork, right, includes some sort of lintel? Yes, but actually removing that course of brickwork over And the window, installing a putting the lintel in, doing it the right way. Yep. And then the windows itself, and then repair the soffit at that building. It's private. It's not just like wood. It's a whole process, the way that was designed. It's all in the back of the building, the side. So if the EOC building, if that goes forward, this doesn't touch that anyway. So it's not doing something that's going to be ripped off, in a year or two, whatever, after it comes. So the brickwork at Cross Lane can be put off till next year. We can ask, at that point to do the repair, 25, 26. You don't have to necessarily do it right now. The Baton Road is more pressing.
BJ, do you want a motion or do you want to do all these together? What do you want?
No, let's do them separately. So on this Boughton Road, reallocation of the $7,800. Any further questions?
I'll make a motion to reallocate $7,800 from Cross Lane brick repair to the Boughton Road Fire Station brick repair. It's Cross Lane and Lime Street.
And Lime Street.
And Lime Street. So just so. To Boughton Road. So $7,800 from those two projects to the single project up at Boughton Road.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thanks, Eric. Bus barn.
The bus barn, we need to replace the bollards at the bus barn, 17 of them.
Oh.
So basically, we're just asking, we're letting Eric was kind enough when we do a bus barn expenditure, we have money in the fund and we need to buy 17 bollards and the price is $5,611. And that includes the mileage for the travel and the covers to be cut to their appropriate height. And they'll be delivered and installed at the bus depot.
Delivered and installed for $5,600. That's a bargain.
Were they new?
But I have a very important question.
Are they new?
What's a bollard?
So around the fuel tank that's down there are 17 steel bollards. And so basically it's a steel
Rod.
post, because it's a post to stop vehicles going somewhere.
Oh,
When they
oh,
were
okay.
installed, they're filled with concrete. And then they put a nice little concrete decorative cap over.
Right. Yeah, now I know what they are.
Majority of them, the water has gotten in, has lifted those caps out, and now water's getting in there. So
Mhm.
the idea was, instead of repairing the concrete, this problem happening again, we cover what's there. You know, the steel's gonna still be there, but a plastic, yellow, high visibility, follow cover. And now we don't have to worry about the water getting inside of the steel and then rusting and rotting and protecting it.
Okay,
So are we reallocating money from something to something?
No,
Or is this
no,
just an
it-
expenditure?
If we have the bus burn fund from their rent and everything, and so we,
Remember there's.
but we like to let you know if we're spending it, especially when it's a high amount. If it was $20, I may not bring it to you.
so you're
no
saying
vote needed?
Yeah.
this comes from the bus barn fund?
Currently, the bus barn fund has about 44,708. in it.
Okay,
And so no action needed, just
We're just
informative, yeah.
good. And then the fire department.
So there really is, two things I was gonna put in my selectmen's report, but I guess Michelle put it on here. But Mike McCarthy informed us yesterday, but he had come to let me know last week that the, Old Fire Department had excessive hose failures in this year's testing of the hoses. A length of hose cost $880, and we have 17 that need to be replaced. All of these were purchased in 2007. I believe it was not a good year for hoses. So they budgeted $4,075 for this year for attack hoses in this year's budget, and $3,000 for the 5-inch hose replacements. That total comes to $7,075. We will not need attack hoses this year because they all passed through, so that's good. The total for the 17 hoses is $14,960. They'll be over budget by $78.85. So we told them that because who knows what else is gonna happen this year. And they usually give us back money to go ahead and purchase them because they need them. And then if we need an appropriation towards the end of the year, we can come to you. So it's basically a notification.
Yep.
To let you know that they're possibly gonna be over. And then also Ed Adante also wants you to know that they'll probably be over in the tree removal budget. And that's likely, we've already taken down 7 trees this week, and I just got the bill today from the tree removal company. It's $15,000. Some of these trees are 100 feet high and they're diseased, and tree warden has checked them. So Eversource is no longer taking down trees for us. They do not have any more money in their budget and will not be doing it in this fiscal year.
Thank God, by the way. Too beautiful work, but okay.
Does higher electricity rates don't cover tree removal?
No.
You
Want
want
them to go up more?
So he's already spent half his budget. He budgeted 30 and half. And we are gonna have to maybe encourage Ed to get some other estimates. And we need to use local, but it might be nice if we spread the wealth. Maybe somebody else could come in a little
She's
cheaper.
using.
This time it was Wilcox. And we do use Jason a lot. He's great and he's very,
Look, the school's $7 million over budget without including Mile Creek. This is a rounding error. So we got bigger fish to fry.
You're talking about the school renovations project is already 7 million over budget? Is that because the bids have come back in?
Yeah, come back. Yep. So it's not on our budget, but or on our agenda, but we've got bigger fish to fry than $5,000 here or $6,000 there.
Well, coincidentally, are we done with that?
yeah. And then I just have my report when you're done.
Yeah, I've got just a couple of information items. One of which is the regional 18 amortization schedule. Look who's here.
Who's here? Very festive as well.
You guys are coordinating. It's really
Okay.
pleasing.
Yes, thanks, Tom. This went to Martha, Martha forwarded it to me. And I haven't looked at it with care, but compared to a prior estimate, the aggregate is down a little. So based on what David just said, my assumption is this does not incorporate, this precedes the bid. It's dated August 1st. In any event, can Martha and David explain what's going on with this financing?
I've heard only from members of the board that the numbers have come in significantly higher than expected. And I have no idea. I mean, this was yesterday that I heard that. So
Well,
I don't know how that affects.
Andy's on the
this.
building committee.
Yeah, there was a meeting last night, which we received a document showing that the 3 schools.
Three, not
Does
Miles
not
Creek.
include anything with Mile Creek. Those bids haven't even been solicited yet. We're $7.2 million over. They're looking at them. They're trying to see where there were possible mistakes, and they found some. They think they've identified, not to us as a building committee, but internally, the contractor, about $5 million in savings out of that 7.2. But I think, which they still got a long way to go because the project has got to be $57 million.
So I don't want to interrupt
The
you.
project has to be 57. And as we said at the end of our meeting last night, we don't even have Mile Creek yet. Their reasons were, a lot of it had to do with air conditioning. Obviously, that's what the bulk of the project is in those schools. And they're looking at things that maybe don't need to get done. For instance, at Line Consolidated, fire suppression is not required. It's in
I
the,
vote for that over air conditioning, but
it's in the plan because the fire suppression is to save the building, not students really, because it's sprinkler system. And it's very costly because there's a well, the tank has to go in, pumps, generators. So
what's the reasoning for it not being required at Lime School, but being required for the other buildings?
it's being required at Mile Creek because the new part, okay?
Okay.
Not the old part. They could at Mile Creek just do it in the new
part.
classrooms.
Okay.
But if you're gonna put it in, you might as well do the
Yeah.
whole school. But Lyme is a different story, so they're looking into that as a possible, pretty significant cost savings, and then they have to look at politically, how does that fly? We said we were gonna do it, now we're not.
So this amortization schedule is just based on dollars without thinking about the actual bids.
Because the project is the project,
that's
That's
based
the
on the
thing.
57 million.
right?
That's right.
So.
And when you say the project is the project, because we can't go back to the state for more
We
funding.
certainly can't. We can go back to the taxpayers, but
And
There's
there's
not
not
appetite for
appetite for doing that.
Right.
So the mission at this point is to cut costs, not to increase the budget.
correct. So this table was handed to us last night also. The 2025, there was no money budgeted this year, but there is that $550,000 is a down payment, the interest, which is reducing the interest and the amount borrowed in the end. That's why the difference between the projected, that's the main reason between the projected and the actual, as well as if you look at the bottom, the interest rate. And they had projected 3.73 and it's 3.29. So that's the other reason for the,
That's just financial engineering.
Yeah.
right.
So Andy, you say 3.29, this says 3.26.
That's
No,
out there
that's
on the
actual.
notes.
You're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about these two right here.
Oh, okay.
And this was handed to us an hour and 45 minutes into an hour and 50-minute meeting. So
So you haven't studied it.
haven't.
And the 550, is that coming from Ian's checkbook, or is he gonna look to the towns for that?
No, that's out of theirs.
Budgeted 800,000.
Right, they budgeted 800,000 in their budget.
Okay,
That was a discussion previously.
I remember that. Okay, why am I not surprised? When's the last time, and Dave, this is your business, when you got bids back that conformed to the estimate?
When I thought that it should be a $20 million project, and it turned from $42 million into a $57 million project in one meeting.
Well, I'm not talking about in the schools, I'm talking about in your business. Don't bids always come back more than the estimate?
Not to this extent.
Not to this extent, fair enough.
And the architects said they don't know why this is per square foot significantly higher than any other project they're working on in the state. They have 12 buildings in Waterbury they're doing right now that were all in the $80, $85 to $90 per square foot. And one of these buildings was 105.
Doesn't the fact that they're working second shift also play?
He said that was, that question was asked. They said that's like 1%, but I don't know that I buy that.
We will not have 1,640 kids in the school system in 4 years.
We have 37 new additions.
That doesn't get us to 1,640 kids
Well,
in 4 years. So whatever's happened has happened. And, you know, people have made their own decisions about this. This is a disaster for the town.
I don't think we need to talk about it. It's not our purview right now, so we can just.
We have to keep it.
Well, you may not think so, but this is going to be a very
Okay.
significant conversation.
Okay, but we don't need to have it right now.
If you don't want to have it right now, that's fine. This is a bad thing for the town, and we need to work together to figure out how to make it better.
It's good to be knowing about that. So
and I
how many companies bid on a project like that? And could it go to other companies?
It was different because it was split up depending on the area. Some had as many as 6. Actually, the air conditioning had 6 companies bid. There was site work is significantly over. That only had 1 that bid on all of them. So that's something that's going to be sent out to be rebid and encourage the other ones. Other contractors that said they were going to bid.
It was across the board, though, pretty much, in terms of the trade.
The site, yeah, the trades and the site work were significant. I think the site work was over $1 million.
Yeah, and I'm
It's not.
still burned emotionally about the senior center renovations that came in high, especially the site work was some multiple of the original estimate.
That's what this was. This was almost triple. But it was only 1 company submitted a
And
bid.
I think that may have been similar for the senior center.
And, you know, they're blaming timing. In terms of air conditioning, they're blaming changes in requirements. For what, obviously it's not.
Well, let's move on, but I think this is helpful.
The timing factor is these 3 schools, kind of the drop dead date to try to stay on schedule is September 15th. So whatever changes are going to happen, except the site work, that's not as time critical because that's middle to end of project.
Mhm.
But certainly the air conditioning, which has a drop dead, and that has to get done with the state, which
When are you going to know about Mile Creek?
those bids are those packages are just going out now, probably not till end of September,
And that's 50% of the project.
close to it. Yeah, it's 23 million.
So that could be another 7 million over.
Correct.
That's a problem.
When you start with a big number, changes are big.
I had this morning also photocopied, I know I photocopied them. I thought I put them in my briefcase. The projected amortization schedule for the 4.1 million senior center bonds. But as happens when you get to be my age, I can't find them. But unless you already have this in your report, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the status of the senior center bond project, which seems to be going along
So
apace.
the bond sale is slated for Tuesday, September 10th at 11:30 here in Town Hall. We will receive the proceeds on Tuesday, September 24th. Anita and I had our quiz of the century through S&P. And according to Barry, we passed with flying colors. They're expected to release the bond rating on Monday, August 26th. And then we have comments that we'll have to get back to our financial advisor on the 28th. Legal documents from bond counsel are due back to Phoenix on the 29th. And so we should have results. I think that we'll have a good rating.
And senior center is pretty well baked, right? We've got solid bids and.
Yeah.
Right. Just to continue, we stay on a solid schedule. We have weekly owner meetings every Wednesday. We go over, and Alan Shinas is our pencil at the helm and keeping track of everything. We are working right now. The biggest thing right now is the more economical way to deal with the exhaust systems in the kitchen to accommodate the stove and the steamer. So there's
Steamer?
still
What's a steamer?
a steamer is it's like it just works with steam, and so frozen vegetables can go in. They're steamed and then they come out all nice hot and soft. However, it was evidently, and no one seems to know how it got there, how it got installed, who approved it, who didn't approve it, but it was put in. And
What the steamer was?
a while ago. So we are trying to determine if it really needs a type 2 hood. So they're going back and forth because according to the installation guide from the company, no hood is necessary. But if you call them, the technical people will say, well, it's really up to your fire code. So Dave is trying to get, and how much
Need to
makeup
approve the $5,000 then that we.
No, you're not. So we are working diligently to try to get it so that, because if you're going to open up a wall and put some type of exhaust in, do it now, or at least make the room so that it'll be on an outside wall and you can do it.
Yeah.
So we took out a window and, we've moved the freezer into the other auxiliary kitchen. So we're trying different things. And I went out and got some bids on they only went to bid to one company for all the appliances. So I went to another company for some, and we saved some money on some things, and they suggested alternate brands with better warranties. So we'll see what happens. We're working through
it. Do we have an estimate of the interest rate that the bonds are likely to go out at, Martha?
7.9.
No.
What was the last time that they tell us? 3.2? 3.2?
Three something, but it's been favorable. It's been coming down a little bit.
It has come down since we originally started looking.
I've seen so many of the different papers, it's like a thing until we finally get the phone.
The nice thing is we're in Connecticut and there are very few municipal bonds that can be federal as well as Connecticut. So you have a bunch of rich people in Connecticut that are looking for Connecticut bonds. And so we're riding that wave a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want the rest of this report, or do you have more questions on senior center?
I don't have any.
Okay.
So report away.
Okay, Soundview parking lot project's been sent out to bid. Bids will be opened on September 11th. Remember, we're under the Department of Justice that we have to get this done. And we've also sent out the draft of the RFP for the Swanbrook Crib for review. Keith is coming over to review it with me someday this week, and we hope to put it out to bid before, the end of the week would be nice, or next week. Well, that will close on September 13th. Once both those projects come in for bid, then we will have to go to a town meeting for funding. So I am expecting parking lot to come in under 40. And I am expecting the crib to come in probably over 100 because all new piers are going in. So,
So what's that repair gonna look like for the crib?
well, because of our permitting, it will stay exactly in the same form, shape as it is now. Except the east wall will be one length less than, so it'll be like 8 feet less than the west wall is. Then they're going to put an end cap on it and they're putting a curved wall on the inside. So that the water will not be coming straight in, therefore hopefully not blocking the two pipes. This curvature will be going out to the east because the marine people study the storms and they said that this is more favorable. However, if we get a Gloria that came in from the east, and then that would be unlike.
So do the
unlikely.
pipes get extended out into the water though?
No, they do not. The head wall stays the same. To get them to extend out, we would have to go through a home rule permit. You and I would both be in a grave before they might even consider it because the head of deep does not want this going. You have to go out beyond the waves crashing, which is like 350 feet out.
That'd be Army Corps of Engineering.
That's right.
Yep. But you'd have, but you also, they'd be with the Long Island Sound study,
Yeah.
they don't want to be putting anything out into the water. I don't know why, because it's still going into the water, but that's where we are with that, so. We will protect, and I will say that, flood and erosion control, Harry Goff on that committee, the other White Sands beach, the private beach, the marshland through Antonacci's property that they did, that also, that pipe broke during the winter. We tried to help them out. Then Deep said to us, probably shouldn't do that because I don't really think there's a permit. But Harry studied it through and he has spoken to someone at Deep and they're going to come and repair that. That's all good for us. Grassy Hill Bridge, we're waiting for Frontier Contract to come back from vacation. We're going to have an initial meeting with them and also with Jacobson's office to start up that project again and see what it looks like in time frame to hope to complete it by 2027 when our funding from the state would again expire. By the way, Anna, I have all this typed.
I know. This is for me.
Ferry Road sidewalks. They filed the paperwork. I think we already talked about that. We just need to plant grass seed. The contractor grades grass seed that when it has a lot of weeds in it, that'll be dug up.
A lot.
Only.
And they're gonna hydro seed, right, Tim?
We'll have a meeting Thursday.
Okay.
Can I just mention something? We just had some road work done on our road. And Tom Ashnick did the work. They got seed from Laysville. It sprouted within a week.
Yeah.
Did a nice job, so. Anyway.
Old Line Landscaping has an old line blend that works very well.
Okay, I mean,
It's not
$50 a bag.
The trouble is that this time of the year, even if you put grass seed down, the weeds just attack.
Yeah.
And so
Put fertilizer.
it may be that we'll have to get rid of the weeds and then hydro seed in the middle of September. We think. So we'll see what, because we have Sullivan Landscaping who does hydro seeding. They're gonna meet with them next week and see what they say. But if it's in a contractor's bid, yes, they have to agree to not do it, but I think what they did has turned the weeds and the people are not very happy.
My dog likes to eat them.
the other thing is the area needs to be protected because if there's an event of some sort.
Yeah.
Meaning, people like to park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, with the
Every
storm.
tiny bar of goats.
Anyway, that'll be a project.
And bees.
Before you leave today, you might want to take a look. I'll be happy to open the door.
I'm
with
in
new
partnership
flooring.
with your bees.
It's great.
Yeah, new flooring has been put into the town hall main office and the mailroom today. They should finish up any last minute things tomorrow, but it looks pretty much complete to me. Eric is going to do the painting himself of those two rooms. And we'll move the furniture back in, which most of it is here. When Michelle comes back from vacation, we're gonna do an HGTV special reveal for her. Eric also ordered new countertops, so the laminate that's been held on with Scotch tape for the last few years is now going to be new, and it's gonna be a white, bright color instead of the dark green, but still laminate. And the refrigerator that's in the small kitchen downstairs is getting moved up to the mailroom because of the fact that with all the people in this building, that little tiny dorm fridge just doesn't quite cut it, plus it died. So we're gonna.
Once it died, okay.
So we're moving it up. Jen Datum and Kathy Carter are gonna prepare a report for me on the cost of having early voting here at Town Hall. We had approximately 25 votes during a 7-day period it was also voter turnout was low for the primary as well. So we have 14 days of early voting coming up for the November election beginning October 21st. So Town Hall will be
A buzz of voters.
disrupted.
50.
We'll see. For those of you who have maybe seen this on the webpage or on whatever, we're conducting a survey to see how property owners receive their legal notices, especially those residents that live out of town. This is due to our town ordinance 41-1. It requires publication in 4 newspapers, 1 local, 3 far away. It was originally done in 1958 and then amended again, I think in, what was it? 2003. We thought it was time to update. The cost of advertising for legal notices has gone through the roof. And some of the papers are only doing it 1 day a week. So one of our notices went in, we called week in advance, but they only do it Fridays. Or when we have a Monday or a Tuesday town meeting, that doesn't work. So it's kind of crazy, but we've gotten some good things. But if you haven't done this, we encourage you to take the 4-minute survey, and it will help us make decisions on what newspapers we should actually publish in. So we'll rewrite that ordinance, and that will go to town meeting as well, along with BJ's tax abatement ordinance that got passed as well through Board of Selectmen.
I don't want to pay taxes anymore.
It's specific to you.
You're the chairman of the Board of Finance.
Yeah, right. You got 3 of us.
It's the low income housing.
But they have to get it, we have to get it approved by the town. We're also handing out all the house plans Andy came down into the basement for the first time, got to see where the servers are.
I'm coming, by the way. I got that notice too.
Did you get one?
Yeah, I did. I got the
Do you want the
notice.
plans?
But
You can
I'm
pick 'em
gonna
up.
look and see what they are, yeah.
You can pick them up if you want. We did have somebody who's had the actual plans that had been given to the building department were for an addition, but his 1925 original plans had been attached from the owner when they did the addition.
Yeah.
He was the senior citizens are they're so excited to get these because many of them bought these houses from someone else and they've lived in them for years.
Mine is 1786, so I'm not sure that it's
Yours is hand drawn.
like this.
Hand drawn. And then any plans still left in the office after Labor Day are going to be shredded for safety purposes. And police contract negotiations is continuing. We only have 3 proposals left to review. I think they're coming along pretty well because of our dating. They're going to probably assign an arbitrator, but we'll probably settle before that arbitrator is needed. So
What are we down to in terms of issues? Just economics, or are there work rural related?
no, it's economics. It always ends up at economics. But
Well, sometimes it does, but yeah. Okay, that's good.
they're always, let's put it this way, they're always the most difficult conversations to have. So they tend to be the ones that we wait till the end to try to solve.
Okay.
And I think it's coming along very well. I mean, Dominic and Steve Hackett are representing the union and Anita and myself and Joe Karenberg are up for the town. And we will, of course, it'll have to be ratified by the Board of Selectmen. Does it get ratified by the Board of Finance as well?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
So once we agree on all the tentative agreements, we've signed off on a lot of things. Jill's done a great job of changing language and things like that. So once we've got all that squared, we'll put it together. We'll send it up to Pat McHale. He'll approve it. I'm sure John Miller will also approve, look into it to approve from their side. And then we'll go to Board of Selectmen and hopefully, and they'll ratify and we'll ratify. And that'll be it.
Does this have
3 years or 4 years?
Sorry, is this, yeah.
Actually, we are contemplating, and I think we are going to go this way, 4 years. And the reason for that is
Yeah.
with a 2-year election cycle, it means that your new person who could come in is always faced with a contract decision in that election right at their first year. So if we do 4 years, the person will have a year in. If we start it now, it'll always be 1 year in.
Historically, it's been 4 years though, right?
No, it's been
Right.
3.
Has it been 3? Okay. Yeah.
And then next year we do public works. So we'll try to get them,
Same idea there, except that would be an off year, so
we'll try to get them on the same cycle. Or, depending, it's not too hard to, once you're
just being consistent is important.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we try. So, and then we're working on the employee handbook as well. Jill and I are gonna try to finalize that Friday. And we'll put that together too.
Martha, I know a while ago you had a sort of like a working group or something on speeding. Is anything happening? Maybe because I walk on Lime Street every day and I see cars going routinely like 50 miles an hour down that road.
Yes, the Road and Public Safety Committee is meeting for the very first time on August 26th, sorry.
Okay.
August 26th. We took a while to, first we got a few applications in and we waited to appoint people until we had a few more. And so I think we had 12 members were supposed to be on the committee. And I think we have done everybody, we have 9 right now. So we don't have anybody
That seems
from,
enough.
we don't have anybody from the Lays, where is it? 4 Mile River Road. We don't seem to have anyone from that area. So if you know anyone on that road that might be interested, let us know. So, yeah, going well. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Thank you.
No problem.
Let me ask you, Anita, whether, are there any preliminary June 30 numbers back yet? Just sort of curious about how revenues and expenses compared to budget and how the surplus compared to budget.
No, the auditors were here, in July, and they're coming back in beginning of November to close everything out. Right now, I'm running a lot of reports, but I have to finish. Carryover is one of them that's going to make a difference with our numbers. And the other here is I have which I was gonna talk to you about because I came in at the end of last year. So, we have one account that is over $71,000. So we will have to go to a town meeting for a transfer.
What is it?
Transfer station. This is what it's gonna look like for transfers. You have just pass them all around. Yeah, once around. I think there should be enough for everybody. Or more than enough copies. Oh, this is that.
Yeah, they're-
The papers there. I'm sorry, in front of you.
Did you get one?
Yep. So those are the transfers. Because the transfers have to be done, the carryovers have to be done, and then I will have, but, the reports that I did run for going out to bond were very positive. We're definitely looking at the same surplus as last year.
Well, if we look at the June 30 numbers that you provided last month, right, those are pretty much cash numbers. So whatever.
There was a
we're
couple
looking
of entries that you have to like they were, advanced and not, so some of them. I had to do.
It's kind of a mix of
Right.
accrual and cash, right?
Right.
But pretty much the revenues less the expenses is what we can expect to roughly go into surplus, right?
Surplus, it looked like for expenditures, gonna be about $1 million. Close to
Yeah.
$1 million.
I'm sorry, with what?
About $1 million, because you're doing transfers about 900, so you probably got.
You mean that we may have a million additional dollars to go into surplus?
Yeah.
And revenue was over, I wanna say it was.
Revenues were over, yeah,
7 or 8, or 7.
a lot of it was from
something like that.
interest, or some of it was from interest.
Yeah, yeah.
It's looking very favorable.
So, but that was kind of the essence, I think, of your question, right? Is, hey,
Right.
And that's even including like with these numbers, because it's only coming from one part of the budget moving to the other. It's not like we're taking any of this money from fund balance.
Mhm.
It's just moving it from one department to the other.
right. So action item here, Anita?
That I was gonna bring next month because I don't know, how that works when there's a town meeting involved.
I think we usually have to vote to send it to town meeting.
The Board of Selectmen first.
Okay, that's why
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up now because I didn't know the process.
So you might have to have a quick meeting, because if we want to get everything on the same town meeting, we might
Yeah.
have to do a quick meeting.
Yep.
I'll look at the schedule and see where we are once we get the bids in and how it goes, where meetings get into place. But as you can see, it's basically the transfer station that's the real over, and it was contracted services, and if I remember correctly, Anita, part of the year was Casella, and then we switched over to CWPM.
Yes, but also, I will say he was over 70, but he also brought in an additional 70 in revenue.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The revenue corresponds to it.
Right.
We have to pay to get,
And
he,
you have to pay. for
as
it,
residents, we
so-
paid to get rid of the stuff there, but he had to pay to get rid of it.
So it's an easy
So-
presentation.
So it
Right.
it actually,
Right.
it wasn't, it's nothing he didn't, but it really correlates
Yeah.
to, he brought in more revenue.
Yeah.
So it's.
But it costs more to get rid of it, so.
Yeah.
So Anita, on the sheet that you just gave us, the first column under general fund has two numbers, 64,000 and 7,000 that add to 71,000.
Right.
And then down below that, you've got municipal refuse, single stream tonnage, and public works sand.
And that's where the money is coming from. It's gonna get transferred for those accounts into that account.
I see, those are the accounts that have a surplus.
Right, spend on the offsets.
So we don't have to go into our
No, it's-
surplus.
No, it's not anything, no surplus.
No surplus.
So just explain to me, so they're collecting fees to get rid of the stuff, and they made 70,000.
Over.
Yeah, so why are we taking, I mean, how does the money flow? Why are we taking that money?
Well, that's in revenue, so this is
Yeah.
expenditure, so your expenditures are over because.
You just reconcile it.
Revenue, Take bill.
But if we have an overage in a particular line item, if it's over 20 grand, it's an expenditure.
Right,
The net doesn't come
doesn't
into,
matter.
doesn't matter, yeah.
But we can move money within a department
Which is.
from one account to
It's
another.
over the bottom loan, the bottom, that is.
We looked at that.
Is a department within a. The department.
So transfer station is different from municipal refuge.
That's my question.
Right, municipal, it's
That's not-
also recycling and sanitation, but in there's 4 departments within that
Right.
category.
Like
It would
emergency,
feel like we should
right,
just
like
be able to
emergency
do that.
services has the
Well,
police.
I guess I
and
would
fire
wonder then
department,
how
and you wouldn't wanna
department
be
is
mixing
defined.
between
Right.
those.
Department.
Yeah.
Maybe in
when
this
you
case
look
we
up
would, but.
For like the chart of accounts, the chart of accounts by state statute, basically. In here, how O-line does it is if you look at your different funds, you have your O1, which means general fund. Then you have your department is the 201, and then that third number, that's your department number. And it's different for recycling, sanitation compared to transportation.
Anita and I looked at this because we were like, the numbers are all there, no, the money's there. It's
Yeah.
in the account, it's just like, but, and you called the auditors, right, to check?
Yes, I did call, but I also went through the state and I pulled state statute on uniform chart of accounts. And that's where I got it, goes by each department, and here, the differentiate of department is that third code that's in the number of the expenditure.
Yeah, and I remember looking at the statutes too and saying department, but I couldn't find a definition of department.
I went under uniform chart of accounts.
And they say it's the third number is the department
Well,
identifier.
the function department, it breaks it down how the
Mhm.
account should be.
But the need for this is perfunctory anyway, because.
Yeah, but I would love to not have to bother with the town meeting to approve it if we could avoid it.
I was trying to get around it.
But then I said we were gonna have one anyway, so what the heck?
Okey doke. Anything else? The bad weather is over, Martha?
We're glad that-
We got lucky compared to South.
We're just glad we were not.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
See my-
Anna reminds me we have an opportunity for public comment and Mr. Griswold, I'm sure, is going to give us a speech.
You got an hour or so?
Do you want to sit here for public comment?
It's doing just fine.
I had a good teacher.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
To come to the mailroom, I'll
David
open up the
seconds.
mailroom for us. You can see
we're
more.
out, we're out of
I
here.
will say,
Tax dollars.
being on the other end of this, the sound was very good.
Oh, good.
I mean,
It's a neat system.
The sound
You know,
was very good.
for
I
the
could hear
Halls
everybody.
Road, for Halls Road, it hasn't been. 'Cause I've been, for the last two meetings, I was.
No.
So Martha, maybe the trick is that there needs to be more than just us in the meeting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if there's no one else on